The official Sonic YouTube channel did a series on Speedstrats and showed off some really dope tricks. But as someone who actually speedruns the game, I want to show you all the forbidden knowledge that Sega doesn't want people to know about. This is Sonic Speedstrats, but from an actual Frontier speedrunner. Let's get some of the basics out of the way. To go fast, the first thing we need to do is avoid this guy. Leveling up speed has its uses, but you'll spend a good 30 minutes just mashing through text to max out your speed stat with Cocos. Instead, what you can do is keep Sonic at max rings so you're always in power boost, which lets you reach a speed that's comparable to max stats anyways. Combine that with sidestepping, and then you can start to move crazy fast. Sidestepping doesn't immediately feel useful, but when you get Sonic to full acceleration and hold sidestep, he'll maintain that speed, even when going uphill. The really sick thing is that when he goes downhill or hits a dash pad, he'll maintain the speed boosts from those, making him go even faster than max speed. A good way to judge if you're doing this right is by paying attention to the speedometer in the bottom right and seeing if the needle is maxing out. Sidestepping can be used for another trick called Air Jordan as well, allowing you to cover some crazy gaps. All you have to do is time it a little before Sonic would go over a gap and let go of boost. Super useful pretty much anywhere that there's a non-flat surface at a ledge. But you're not here for the little things. You want to know about the crazy tricks that let you skip huge chunks of the game, right? Well, do you want to go to space? This is Hedgehog's space program, or DSS Shuffle, named after the person who found it. HSP is a trick you can do after you unlock the stomp ability in the skill tree, and it quickly became a staple in the Frontier speedrun. Within the first 2 days of the game's release, we were able to skip the first 2 islands with it almost completely. More on that in a bit, but the way you perform this trick is by locking onto an enemy, doing a dodge roll, stomp, and then the frame after the stomp comes out, if you boost to cancel the stomp animation, you'll get all the speed from it, making you launch crazy high. The downside is that because you burn your boost, you don't get a lot of horizontal movement aside from being able to dodge roll, but it's still really useful. We use this trick to enter Giganto's arena right away without collecting any of the Chaos Emeralds. All you have to do is stand on the debug trigger for the boss, which is right about here in this patch of flowers, and remember that this only works if you haven't already fought Giganto. This is just the tip of the iceberg of speedrunning tricks for this game, and it has a lot of uses. But one day, runners thought about trying to perform this trick from further away to see how it would affect the launch. This small difference in execution made a vertical launch into a horizontal one, and it single-handedly changed the entire speedrun. Slingshot is executed exactly the same as HSP, except the difference here is in how you set it up. All you have to do is find an enemy, Griddy away from the target, also known as a mag dash, and lock on mid-Griddy. This allows you to extend the range of the lock on. From here, use the same inputs from the HSP, which are dodge roll, stomp, and boost, and you'll go flying. If you boost after the stomp frame perfectly, you'll go really high into the air, which is useful in places like Rhea Island, but the more useful variant is actually the non-frame perfect version, which sends you more horizontally. Take note that the distance and height compared to the target has different effects on the launches, which is why you'll see speedrunners side loop grounded soldiers into the air to get a better angle. Now, let's get one thing straight. The boss fights are one of the best parts about this game. Okay, except for you. And you. It's sort of unfortunate that speedrunners absolutely decimate these bosses, but also do so without leveling up power or defense even once. How do they do this? They kind of just cheese them. Stomp, for whatever reason, does an absurd amount of damage no matter your level, and combine that along with side looping and you'll destroy bosses faster than Sonic can tie his shoes. Ignore the fact that Sonic doesn't have laces. A lot of people don't know that they can side loop the bosses as supersonic, but doing so adds a multiplier to how much damage can be done to them. Speedrunners will side loop Giganto and Knight twice each. For Wyvern, parry the missiles that he shoots at you so you can chase him down quickly. And by performing Cyclone Kick, Dodge, Stomp, and repeating, you'll stun lock Wyvern, skipping some of the attacks that he would normally put out. Watch out though, because he still will retaliate, so make sure to parry those attacks when they come out. For Supreme, we just spam the cross slash ability. Yeah, sorry, this one's fast but not fun. By using cross slash for about 30 hits and then refreshing for another 30, you effectively lock Supreme in place and melt his health. This can be done all the way until his health stops at this last phase, where you have to break one of his little toys and let him hit you. Then finish however you'd like. Going back to actual skips, this trick is probably one of the easiest to perform for anyone. Hyperbounce. All you gotta do is find one of these funny little platforms, stomp on them, and hold jump during the slowdown. The earlier you hold jump, the higher you go. This also can be used to get into Giganto's arena, and it's probably the easiest way to do so. What's crazy is there's a skip at the very beginning of the run. It saves a few minutes by skipping the tower fight, playing 1-2, and watching the unskippable bridge cutscene in the tutorial. I warn you though, this trick is pretty difficult to pull off and probably the most difficult in this video. After you unlock side loop, draw a bunch of circles until you get power boost. Bring yourself over to this door frame and launch Sonic off the side directly to go to 1-2. This skips the cutscene that explains how to side loop enemies, as well as the one introducing portal gears. You then get Sonic to jump onto the square texture and hold up. While Sonic is on the square, hold up left very slightly and boost into the air. When Sonic is in the air, turn the camera and hold upright to help Sonic maintain his height. If you don't have enough height, you'll miss the invisible ceiling and hit a wall, but if you hold up until Sonic starts to arc downwards and boost, you can make it up here pretty easily. If you can't do it this way, you probably aren't getting a good enough launch off the portal. Next, get your camera to line up with this part of the cliff and boost so the Sonic runs off of the ceiling. When the spring appears on the left, hold boost until it's off screen and then jump, swing Sonic to the left to get around an invisible wall, hold parry, and turn the camera so you can see a homing reticle for the spring. It'll launch you into an invisible wall and you'll end up on the other side. This trick is hard and takes practice, so don't be discouraged. A funny side effect of this trick is that you won't have the ability to climb until you finish Kronos Island. So when you fight Giganto, you won't be able to grab onto him. But with some practice, you can just use the blue rings on his body to make it to the top. Sonic Frontiers is the best Sonic game we've had in a long time, but anyone remember Chaos Island Pinball? Yeah. Pinball was looking to be one of the biggest roadblocks for the game and would have been one of the main reasons Frontier speedrunning could have died off fast. But one fateful day, Kabali had solved it. Pinball Skip was born from the manipulation of the autosave function, which at first happened seemingly randomly while playing, but it was then found out that by performing certain actions, you could force an autosave. By abusing this, speedrunners would break this box here to set the autosave location and then start pinball. Once at the table, exit to the main menu and load the autosave, and Sonic will spawn further away from the pinball door and closer to the cliff, but the game will still fade you into pinball after around 9 seconds. The goal now is to put Sonic in a position where he'll fall into the pit after pinball has loaded. So when the autosave loads, we hold down left and position Sonic so that he's over the cliff but won't die too early. Sonic can still die during the cutscene, and if this happens, you have to reload the autosave again. So to prevent this, if you pause as soon as the cutscene loads, it'll also delay Sonic's death. You can try this on your own, but I recommend watching other runners do it with input display since it can be really finicky and hard to replicate. From there, you die in the crater where the knight spawns 3 times and you'll be in the fight. The last couple of things were a little complex, so let's do a bit of a palate cleanser. In the official Speedstrats video, they showed off the extremely useful tech that they dubbed the homing dash. And sorry to tell you, Mr. Speedstrats man, but speedrunners named it first, and we call it hitting the griddy. Okay, well, technically we call it magnet dash, homing attack whiff, M dash, homing cancel, the list goes on, but hitting the griddy is my favorite. Anyways, this trick is too useful to ignore. Runners have gotten pretty creative with the strats and can beat S-rank times and stages by over a minute sometimes. It's extremely broken. Funny enough, the strat isn't even good in open zones, but it does have some uses and locations to get quick launches upwards using springs and enemies. Another little tip to help improve those cyberspace times is using sidestep. Sidestep doesn't increase the speed on downhill slopes like an open zone, but it does maintain speed from dash pads, so you can go crazy fast if they stack. Also, if you sidestep up against a wall, it's a little bit faster than just boosting because Sonic will be pushed slightly forward while sidestepping into a wall. Otherwise, cyberspace is pretty much about finding the best route. If you're ever curious how fast some of the levels have been pushed, check out the IL boards on speedrun.com for Sonic Frontiers. A lot of the strats are guaranteed to blow your mind. Here's another strat that would change Frontier's speedrunning forever, or at least that's what we thought. Hit and Run was a strat discovered by Griddy that uses the spin slash ability to create a crazy fast horizontal launch. It's performed by locking onto an enemy, initiating spin slash, and then boosting on the frame that Sonic hits the enemy in any direction. This trick is so fast, it can basically teleport you across islands. But why don't we use this trick in today's any percent route? Well, the short answer is because Slingshot is just easier and better. Hit and Run is a faster launch, but has a lot of issues. First, it requires 80 more skill points after unlocking Stomp in the run, which means you have to go pretty far out of your way to collect enough XP. By the time this even happens, you're already a third of the way through Chaos Island and pretty deep into the run. The other issue is that it's pretty difficult to get the frame perfect boost to start the trick and to get a good enough hit on the enemies for it to work. In fact, the only enemy that runners have had any consistency doing this off of is the stationary spinning enemy. That really limits the areas that we can use Hit and Run, basically only allowing us to use this trick in Chaos and Rhea, since Uranus doesn't have any spinny boys in useful locations. One of the most annoying things that we deal with as speedrunners are automated sections and unskippable cutscenes, and in Sonic Frontiers, there's a decent amount of them. These next couple of tricks are used to skip some, but are pretty complicated, so stay with me. This is Wyvern Escape Skip. This trick allows us to skip most of the automated section where Wyvern chases you down after freeing Knuckles and getting an Emerldd. You have to talk to Knuckles twice before the chase starts, so we make sure we have enough memory tokens, talk to him once, and initiate combat with this Shark Guardian. You have a short window to do this, but if you talk to Knuckles the second time, within a few seconds of aggroing the shark, you have the ability to move while in the cutscene that plays. Hold down and press boost for about 3 seconds, and hold the A button about 1.5 seconds in so that the cutscene skips. This sets up what is basically a text storage with the line, "You are the key." It's very important that you don't press any face buttons while doing this next part, but if you did it right, you can now turn the camera towards Strider and aggro him. After the Strider title goes away, you can now move around. Move your way over near this rocky area so that you can get Sonic to climb the side of this climbable wall twice. This sets up for the cutscene skip after the chase. And after you get Sonic where you need him to be, you can press Y or triangle to get rid of the text and make the chase cutscene play out. Effectively, what we did is put Sonic at the end of the chase so that it'll end when Wyvern shoots his missiles. When he does this, you can hold down and boost so that Sonic puts himself over the cliff and he will die when the cutscene plays. But since you're not able to die in cutscenes, it skips it. Performing the skip puts the game in a weird state though that can be easily fixed by changing any of the settings in the options menu. Speedrunners will just press A to change the difficulty and save the settings to do this the quickest. And now you can slingshot to Wyvern's arena to spawn him and finish the island. No invisible walls this time around, but you still need to step on the debug trigger to have him spawn in. This next trick is done on Chaos Island to skip the automated night chase that happens after getting an Emerldd and freeing Tails. But first, we take damage on these spikes up here to set up another cutscene skip. After talking to Tails once, Psyloop once to get enough rings for max, and talk to Tails again fast before the rings touch you. Pause as soon as the cutscene starts to skip. There's a second one, so pause fast and skip again. And if you did it right, you'll get the same text storage as Wyvern Escape Skip, but with the power boost cutscene. Same rules apply with the face buttons. Move Sonic over to this cliff, and when Sonic touches the clouds, press Y or triangle to advance the text. And congrats, you skipped the first cutscene. You'll have to intentionally die from the shield one time though to get the squid to spawn here, or else you can't advance. But this is where the actual shield escape skip starts. There's a small jagged rock that sticks out here that Sonic can walk on, and you want to hold a very slight right until Sonic starts to shake. Then you want to tap boost and immediately hold up and boost again so you don't hit the sides of the invisible kill box, and make your way out of the top of it. Then you want to stomp on the squid trail to initiate the sequence. Unfortunately, this needs to be done because the chase still needs to happen, but Sonic not being on the trail confuses the squid into trying to catch up with him, so he goes way faster than he would if he played it out normally. So while we're on the island, we can actually get the blue Emerldd and memory token spot on the island, and we want to line up Sonic with the line of this cliff. Have him walk up straight and then hold upright/rightish to get Sonic to launch over to the other island. When you're over here, there's a really big cutscene trigger that ends the sequence, but if you get here before the squid, it crashes your game, so don't do that. While we're waiting for the squid, we can go up to 3-5 to get the dig spot and put the portal gear in. And when the squid makes it to his destination, you can set up another cutscene skip where you launch off the side of the portal, land over here near the edge, and let Sonic walk off the side of the cliff using these points that stick out as a guide. And if you do it right, Sonic will touch the kill plane at the same time as touching the cutscene trigger, and you'll skip the cutscene and spawn on the island where you died rather than where the sequence actually ends. You know what? Sonic Frontiers is an absolutely incredible speedrun. All of these tricks make it one of the most fun games I've ever speedran, minus Shield Escape Skip, of course. It has really satisfying movement, and with all the skips, the run is a pretty nice length as well, with world record at the time of recording this being under an hour by KD4. Hope to see some of you on the leaderboards, and if speedrunning isn't your thing, please at least go try slingshotting because it's easy and loads of fun to zip around with. Have a good one, and thanks for watching.